Hello.
Hey, welcome to the Dean Korp podcast. I'm Korp.
I'm Dean.
And happy Joe Biden season.
Yeah, right. We got 4 years of.
Well, we got like 3 years and then one more year of him running to be president again.
I think they start like 2 years in.
No, they do. They start immediately. Like they're gonna get through
what
the first year.
Process.
It really is. The first year would be like, okay, we're gonna try to make true on all the things that we said, so that way they can't say that we didn't.
Right.
And then from there, it's like, how do I get reelected?
Well, like the controversy at the moment that I was watching, like, and everyone's like, I mean, it's not surprising, right? Because politics, but the controversy I had seen was Joe Biden promised like Georgians and like if you elect these senators and you help flip the Senate and like do all this stuff, because this is the first time the Democrats have ever had like in a while that they've ever had all three, right? Like Democrat controlled. And he's like, we'll get you those $2,000 checks immediately. Like it will happen immediately. And they're already like, okay, so it's going to happen in like March. Like we got to get all the stuff together, get it done in March. And it's only going to be $1,400 to total because you already got the $600 from before from that check. And everyone's like, well, that's not what you said.
Well, you had to know that was coming.
I mean, they were going to fuck with it somehow. Like, like they were going to politic it all up.
I mean, I've heard about like the $300 a month or whatever, $600 a month. And it's like a month, you're going to get like a monthly siphon too. Like, I get it. People are bad. It's bad for some people, but the people that it's bad for that I personally have contact with are choosing not to work.
Right.
Like
it's such a weird draw. It's such a weird draw. Like, I don't even know where to stand on it. Could I use more money? Always. Yeah. Could anybody making as much money as we make, you know what I mean? Like we're just two regular guys. I'd probably say we're not.
No, I mean
we get by, right? But like for us, people in our tax bracket, like $2,000 is like it could be game changing in some ways.
Yeah,
like, it could absolutely afford you like stress or no stress for foreseeable months to come.
No, it definitely helped. When COVID struck and everybody last March had to be home, and like I lost my second job.
Yeah,
getting the money. It was only like a portion of it at first because I had a first job. So like whatever was balanced out, I got like a portion, however they did that. So I got something, but then it was like, at some point I lost a little bit of whatever I got. And then like, it was like, people are if I was not working right now and making more money than I was working, like I wouldn't want to go back to work. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I mean, with unemployment, right? Because like they keep extending unemployment insurance. It's like, if you don't, you would have to stop extending unemployment and then give out universal checks, right? Like you can't, if doing both encourages.
Yeah, but like, I don't think each system is together. So like,
no, they're not
separate.
They're independent.
And one's a state driven for sure.
Yeah, the unemployment.
And that's because that changes how much you get paid by state as well, because what the minimum wage is and what the maximum requirements and stuff like that is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like, I mean, in Nevada, it's like $460 a week, and out here it's like $325 a week or something like that maximum for unemployment. I don't know. It just seems so silly that they say they're going to do all these checks and then they don't, and then like the economy is doing bad, and like I mean, they say like 35 million people are still out of work or something like that, or like being affected hard by it.
Yeah,
in a nation of 440 million people, so you're talking about, let's call it 10% of our population is extremely struggling. And like, is that like, what we're asking ourselves is, what's the line we're comfortable with? Like, I feel like politicians have to ask that all the time. What's the line of poverty we're okay with?
I mean, it's the same thing with when COVID first hit, there's a line where it's like, where does the amount of deaths reach a point where the economy needs to be saved?
Right.
And there's like this, like, I can't think of the name of the point, but there's a point where that happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Where they intersect, and it's just like, okay, like, we can't, like, you have to choose one or the other. Like, we're losing either the economy or
damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of moment. Like, I think that, like, I mean, hindsight tells me that don't shut anything down day one. Make everybody wear masks. See how it goes.
No, I think the shutdown was needed because everybody would have got it. The problem was with the going to the doctors and not having enough places for people that are sick to be.
Well, like, it hit some cities harder than others, right? But like, the only thing that we found,
and the tracking, was rigged everywhere.
Oh yeah,
because you get more money by how many other cases you have because you're gonna get more support.
So they were lumping in flu, they were lumping in this, and
Everything.
there was corruption on so many sides of all of the numbers. It was just such a weirdly mishandled thing. Like you would think, like we're 21st century, like we know how to deal with stuff. Like we're like, we're supposed to be smart. We're supposed to be, like better than all of the generations before us. And like all we proved is that we like are wildly incapable of handling any sort of like our government is wildly incapable. I think humans on a day-to-day are fine handling stuff like this. But like when our leadership is supposed to make these pivotal moves, like we all have to move left together. Regardless if some of you fucking hate it or not, we're picking a solution and we're running with it.
Yeah.
And both sides were like, this is the solution. This is the solution. And then states were like, okay, we're going to go with our side solution. And other states are like, no. And then so like, what's the point of locking down if states don't lock down? Right? Like if you have Georgia lockdown and Tennessee lockdown and, Alabama lockdown, but Florida doesn't lock down where all the people in those 3 states go to fucking vacation, then what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, okay, so Vegas locks down first. The next state to like lock down was a week after. And then when all the states started doing it, was like 4 weeks after. So like, what did we do? Like, what are we doing? Like and then they call for a nationwide thing. Everybody should wear masks. A bunch of all of a sudden these doctors are going, well, like maybe masks don't work. Well, maybe masks do. Shut the fuck up and just say they do because it's easier to wear them than it is to not wear them.
And that was what I mean? Like we were having a town hall meeting every day at 5 for a long time.
Yeah.
Like the American audience, the citizens here were captivated by anything that was being said.
Anything. So they'll listen to anything. And it was like this weird moment. And then all of a sudden the George Floyd stuff happens and America has the time to look at what's going on with like the Black community and Latino communities and like see like the, what they've been going on for a while. And yeah, maybe it happens not all the time, but it happens enough to go like, okay, like this is a fucking issue. Like, why does this keep happening? Why do we keep seeing it every year? It's just like more and more. Yeah. Okay. The media blows it up, but so protests start happening. People there's just so much like emotional discontentment in our country. And then our leadership just wants to handle it like a red versus blue thing. That's what gets me. Like everything, when you start talking about it, all these issues are so multifaceted. And then the government just makes it red versus blue.
And
I don't get that part.
The government needs to help guide us to the right decision and give us options that are good options to choose.
Right.
Instead of painting with different brushes and like it's like know what the right answer is.
Yeah.
There's like clear things that are like everybody knows this is the right way. Everybody's equal.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. It just seems so simple. Like it just seems so simple when you really break it down and they just take these big issues. Well, okay, the issues themselves aren't simple. The handling of them should be very simple. Here's a problem. I'm the red side. I have a solution. I'm the blue side. I have a solution. Okay, let's debate. Which solution sounds better? Wow, red side had a really good idea. It's not as good in this area as blue side's, but red side's overall product is, that's a good fucking solution. Oh, blue side's like, fuck, we lost. All right, like, why the fuck does it matter? Like, once you figure out a path, like when you're playing sports, if the quarterback is just out there and he's like, we're going to run this play. You're going this way. You're going this way. Like, we know exactly how the play is going to go. And then the running back just walks right by the quarterback and just grabs the ball out of his hand. It's like, I'm running it now. You're like, that's not what we decided on as a team. Yeah. He's like, well, but like in that moment, I just saw that this would have worked better. Like, okay, I hear you. Like, maybe it would have worked better. But like, as a team, we decided to do this thing. And like, you got to have like, you have to pick a play, bad or good. You pick it, and everyone has to be on the same page because like that's where the disunity and like I don't know. It just like,
we just need aliens.
God, please, like we need aliens to invade or something.
I don't want to say necessarily invade, but maybe like enough, like maybe like a scouting party, right?
Just to unite people.
Yeah, like we are the. Like at that point, do we come up with like what is the name of like an Earthling? Like we're Earthlings. Like
no, they're gonna call us some other
Terran,
shit,
right? Yeah. Like that's what it all goes back to. Like, sci-fi is like we're Terran.
Terran,
Terran, like from a dirt planet.
I'll take Terran.
I mean, like there's got to be a word that we can start using to unify each other under one human race, rather than
like human should be it. Like
it's not.
It's not working for some reason. Like people just can't hang out. Like,
and it's not clever enough. It's not catchy enough. You can't make nicknames with it. Like there's people want all those things. They want to be able to design.
You don't want to be a Humie. like over the Humies. I don't know, dude. It just like we get caught up. I think it's the stoner in me, or like maybe some part of me. The only thing I ever feel really wise on in my life is just being able to like look back at a thing and go like, why is this bothering you so much? Like, why does his skin color make you so mad?
Yeah.
Why does the way he speaks differently than the way you speak make you so mad? Let's sit down and like talk about that with every individual in America. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I would love. Like, we have a social health problem. People aren't loved and talked to enough. People aren't heard and understood enough. So they join these alt-right groups. Oh man, there's like 17 people on the internet who make me feel I belong. Like, and then they just start telling you weird shit. And then all of you guys are affirming each other's weird shit when all you need to be told in the beginning is like, hey, you're special. You have your own thoughts. You're like an individual. You can grow and be anything you want to be. And you don't need to worry about other people at all. And like, stop worrying about other people. Worry about yourself.
Yeah. And
worry about yourself.
You compound that depression or that like lack of what you need as a child as you go through adolescence. And then you compound that with like smoking weed, drug use, alcohol. Like alcoholism is like the one, because like everybody that drinks, you know, they have this side about them. And when they're drunk, it's different. And they like that in some sense. That's why they keep drinking. And like, it's okay to drink. It's okay to drink.
It's the most encouraged drug.
I mean, I walk into a grocery store and there's like 6 aisles of just like bottles and just like crazy the amount of money, and like it's just endless. These aisles are endless.
I'm finding it really hard lately, and I know I just have super bad exposure to alcohol in the industries that I've decided to work in. I just have a bad exposure to it, and I know we're not a nation of alcoholics, and I know alcohol isn't the problem in our country, but maybe it's not fucking helping anything. How much we encourage booze.
Hey, I'm a diabetic, but I'm gonna go eat a bunch of sugar, right?
Yeah, like, and I mean, that's exactly. That's the thing I'm going with. It's like you know it's not the best for you. It's an inhibition lacking drug. We call alcohol, and we call cocaine a drug. They're the same thing. They alter a state of mind. You are normal when you're sober, normal, quote unquote, and then you take a substance, and now you're different in whatever way.
Yeah.
That's a fucking drug, dude.
Well, wouldn't the FDA have ruled it? Is it alcohol under them in like a federal guideline?
No,
is it?
Alcohol is probably, I mean, I have no idea.
It's so
Are you talking
big,
in like terms of, we can't go back. You can't put the genie back in the bottle on this one,
you
right?
can't, you can't,
Prohibition didn't work, right?
Like, you can't do that. That's not what I'm suggesting either, because alcohol does have its play and does help in the right situations. And
I mean, there's moments for it. Like, I'm not saying like, yes, celebration. Like in the same way, cocaine is great when you're celebrating, but cocaine's not great when it's 2 a.m. and you're at home alone and you're just railing lines to stay awake. Like cocaine is fun when you're you're hanging out a bunch of friends and you're all having the time of your life on the, doing whatever, and you're all out and everyone's got good energy. So like cocaine's a fun drug then.
I know a buddy that his cocaine use has turned to a individual thing. He doesn't want to share it. Not that he doesn't want to.
That's the next step on the path.
He likes to play video games and do some lines. And that's his like Friday night release.
I mean, and that becomes, I mean, like it all starts somewhere, right? Like your first drink starts somewhere. And I'm not like, I'm the last person to make arguments against like mind altering substances. I love weed. I'm a fucking stoner out the asshole. I'm actually trying to stop smoking weed. I've been just eating it lately. And like, that's fine.
I'm actually headed down that path, similar to why I quit smoking. I woke up one day and I thought I was dying.
Well, and like, oh dude, I've been having this. I don't know if I'm just a little paranoid, but like there's been, and maybe it was staying at Britt's mom's house and we slept on a mattress we weren't used to. And like, it like fucked me up a little bit, but I'll take this deep breath in the morning and I'll feel it like right here, inside here. And I'm like, that's new. Like, why is my chest so tight? Like, why does that hurt? Like, I've never had that. And like, I've been an asthmatic, my whole life. And I don't have any good reasons I always think of it as like the active combustion into my lungs. I have no problem being a stoner. I've always thought I'm a very good, productive stoner. I like what weed does for me because it's not like alcohol where it's the complete loss of inhibition. It's been proven time and time again Marijuana gets you to the same conclusion 30% slower. So that means I'll live 30% longer than everybody else because I'll die 30%. You know what I mean? At least in my head. But
yeah, no, I get the logic.
I don't that the logic of living longer is probably stupid, but if you come to the same conclusions 20 to 30% slower as a stoner and it makes you feel nice, I have a lot of anxiety. I'm an anxious person. My brain is always running. I think about things way too much. I get like if you've watched any one episode of this podcast, I'm sure I rant about this one thing I can't stop thinking about, and like weed quells that, man. Like I don't need my brain on all the time. Like that's
yeah, I don't have an off switch. So
yeah, I know you're really similar in that regard, man. And like, edibles are fucking nice for that.
Especially with like the amount of content and the ability of being able to absorb content while doing a job.
Yeah.
So like podcasts and YouTube during a workday, an 8-hour workday. So I'm used to that. My whole shift, I go home and play games. Mm-hmm. So my stimulus is going, but I'm also thinking about other things like in the corner of my brain, like, oh, I want to write this. I need to make this list. This has got to be done today. Don't forget to go to the bank on the way. Like,
there's a lot of merit to the like we've tricked ourselves into heavy multitasking, right?
Yeah.
What you just explained. You just explained that your brain is always like, and my brain, and like probably like Brittany, I know the same way, like always on to the next thing or thinking about something. I might not be as type A as to act upon all of it, but I will get lost in thoughts for days.
Yeah.
And it'll affect me emotionally, like how I'm feeling about like I had to stop getting into why like our government, like all the shady shit our government's done. That's like proven. Like the stuff this isn't conspiracy stuff. This is like stuff that's been written about from the CIA. Like I was like fucking 3 hours. I watched the entire James Comey Senate committee interview because I was so lost in the fact that Donald Trump fired James Comey because he asked Comey not to look into the Russia investigation. Comey said, I can't do that. Like I'm a federal investigator, like the head of the FBI, like this is my job.
Yeah.
It basically said that and he fired him. What kind of fucking shit is that? Like, so this is like things that have actually happened. Like Comey's testimony was insane. Like, of course Trump got impeached 2 years later. Like, dude, the guy, like that's the most corrupt you could be to fire an uncorruptible, unpolitical position. Like nobody, like the way the FBI director is appointed, like no president can affect that, but the president has the direct power to fire the FBI director. They don't appoint them. They do appoint them. They fire them and appoint them, but they have no political control over them. He's supposed to be completely nonpartisan. He's not even supposed to be interested in politics. And Comey was like a great fucking FBI like director, and he fired him because he wouldn't because Trump said, "Hey, you're gonna fucking do me a favor," like pretty much, and he said no. So I get lost in those thoughts really hard. And I think I got to just dial it back. Like emotionally, I get trapped on these ideas. So like I have to like, oh wait, what was I saying right before that?
I know we were talking going down this rabbit hole where we started off at America and the politics and how it goes, and you were talking about something that
so drug is like I can at least either hone in on those thoughts or not get lost in those thoughts as badly, and like it keeps me up at night. Like I'll just be sleeping, like I can't sleep rather. Like night sweats about just like the terrors of the world. And like, that's the shit that gets me. So I think drug assistance, like in that regard is good, but drinking to solve those kinds of problems, drinking makes you a totally different human. So I get really cynical with booze lately. I'm starting to think like we need to have a culture shift with alcohol. And that was the point I was trying to make like 3 thought bubbles back.
It's just not going to happen.
I know.
And like, it sucks because it's like, I would like to see it, but it's just such a staple. Like, I mean,
no, it is.
But think about it as a business. Think of it as like what influence they have on the politicians.
Oh, it's insane.
That's like it all ties together, and that's the part of the political system that we have right now. The landscape is where the influencers are the people that own these big businesses that are tobacco for the longest time, like just like killing everybody.
Yeah, like I mean, and they love it. They love that there's this. I mean, like in my mind, if maybe nobody's ever thought about it, like let's direct the country in this way, but like let's not stop it from happening. If 30% of our populace is hooked on this drug called alcohol and like hooked on it, and 10% of that 30% are hardcore alcoholics, high functioning, that's 30% people who aren't paying attention to what we're doing over here. Like they're in a daze. You tell me as a hardcore alcoholic, you're paying attention to anything, really? Like you got shit going on. You're partying. You're going out doing this. You're making people chase a lifestyle. Like I don't know. I just remember in my early 20s, so many people around us, all we wanted was more money to go party more, to go be around people, to go, fuck, I could have bought 3 houses in my early 20s, man.
Yeah.
Like like if somebody had given me real purpose, like it told me about the veil of lies that is like the restaurant industry, and like you kind of know it and you're around it, but it's so easily getting encapsulated by
but you're working with other people in it, and your mentors are there.
Yeah, and you're like the people who taught me, like my mentor Dave, like I love him to death, but there's some things about the lifestyle that I had always highlighted and loved that I've grown to absolutely despise, and I wish I never partook in them in the way that I used to. And it's like that feeling of like, he got me with this one, man. Are you a bitch or are you a bartender? That fucking like rung hard in me for a long time. Like even in Vegas, I'd say that to other bartenders, all in effort to get them to take another shot of Jameson. Like, here, let me help you fuck your life up a little bit. You know, no, it's not as harsh as I'm saying. Let me help you fuck your life up a little bit more.
Yeah, you're taking out the friendliness and like
like
the camaraderie.
Right. You're pushing, and that's drinking culture accentuated through accentuated through like the whole country. Like the are you a bitch or are you a bartender? Like, oh, what are you, a pussy? You're not going to drink more? Or what are you, a little bitch? You don't want to have another shot with your friends? Like, you don't like your buddies? You don't like hanging out with us, having a good time? That's fucking like real.
And that's everywhere.
That's everywhere. That's that low key peer pressure. Like it's not like you got to take the shot, I'm going to fuck you up. And it's not even as bad as you got to take the shot, I'm not going to be your friend. It's like, do you want to have fun with your buddies?
Yeah, like
come on, like
stop being lame.
You're like
night because you're not getting wasted.
Right, and you get stuck in it. And I have seen it take over the better people, even myself.
I mean, our conversation when we were younger used to be, let's get fucked up because shit happens.
Yeah,
and we would get fucked up and just let the night coast us, find where the spot was.
Yeah.
If we get fucked up, we're gonna run into some chicks. We're gonna do this. We're gonna, be a party sometime. It's Friday night.
And how is that not fun? That's fun, but that's not like. So what the weird thing that we have this illusion of is like fun and happiness and like contentment for life and being a good, happy individual all like float in the same boat. And they're all buddies and they all hang out with each other. When all 4 of those like individual pillars that run completely different parts of your lives, like we dilute a lot of those words like, oh man, I got to go have some fun. Yeah, I love having fun. But like you can't have fun 365 for 70 years.
No,
you cannot. That is an impossibility.
There's a way of having fun throughout your day and making mediocre tasks
but
enjoyable.
you can have enjoyment and you can have happiness, which I think people mistake as fun all the time. Like, oh man, I want that contentment, that happiness. I want to feel good all the time. You can with happiness and enjoyment and contentment. But if you rely those off of fun, which is an activity that is or is not happening, you're out doing an activity or you're not. And if you're in your off times in the not, you feel like you're sad because you're not having fun. Like you're misunderstanding what that is. You know what I mean?
To be fair, I think I felt that plenty of times. The FOMO or
FOMO is a great way to put it.
Just like knowing that not even that people are out there, but somebody's out there having a good time, and I'm at home doing nothing.
Right, and that's not like in the weirdest way. It's like Schrodinger's cat. Like, have we talked about that before?
Yeah.
Like the cat's dead in the box. It's technically alive because you haven't opened the box yet. Like you don't know it's dead and alive at the same time. That's what FOMO is. Like you get yourself stuck in this moment of like, I can be this and I am this. And so you feel trapped, like, but just be, and that might be a life lesson that like nobody's ever going to tell you out loud. And like, I can say it and that's not even the proper way to convey the lesson. And I can't even do it properly myself. You know what I mean? Like that's what we should aspire to, but that's not taught by anybody. That's like learned through stoner talks for the last decade for me of how to find this level of like contentment where I'm not like always harbored on someone else's emotions and their feelings. And like, am I having fun? Am I happy through their happiness? Like that's fucked up. I got to love me, be happy about me, be content with my life. Then the rest of the fun and all that stuff happens around you. But like, if everybody was taught that, that's fun, fun is not this thing that is achievable every day. Maybe you could reach those other conclusions a little bit easier, but like when you're 15, 16, like those really impressionable teenage years, everyone's around you just getting fucked up. And they're like, at the time of my life last night, you had the time of your life, the whole life, like, and you're just having the time of your life every weekend. Like we use intense phrases to describe getting shit-faced with your friends and throwing up all night. So then drinking becomes a part of the culture. This lack of like fun and contentment, happiness becomes a part of the culture. Like, oh man, I didn't go to college and live like the TV.
And then sprinkle in some social media in there.
Yeah. Oh, let's just degrade your self-esteem even more, motherfucker. Do you want to feel out of the loop? Like, relationships are so trivial now as to like swipe left or swipe right. Hopefully this person that I meet, like after we have sex for the first time, we're going to like each other. Oh, what? Like they dumb down everything. It's all getting dumbed down.
And you think of it and you go, okay, we got all the fun set up. We got a bunch of booze, you got a bunch of girls. And then at the end of the day, you're hungover for a day. And then I don't know about you, but the older I got, the depression would kick in. I'd have like a day depression where I'm like having long car rides for no reason, thinking to myself, like
you're like, because you're exhausted emotionally from the night before. Maybe shit happened that you didn't understand. Maybe you don't even remember it, and you had a lot of fun. So you tell yourself, and then the next day you're doing the opposite of fun or happiness or contentment.
What
or
got
joy.
reinforced for me was the lunch table, or at practice, or these other moments where it was getting reinforced that what I was doing
was
cool.
Yeah.
My football coaches and my baseball coaches at the high school I went to encouraged this type of like,
because they knew it built camaraderie, and they knew you would go out on the field and you play harder for each other. You know, at what level, but like at what cost?
It cost me a lot. I had an opportunity with 4 coaches, and I still are. I remain friends with one of them at least talking to them regularly. But they were like fresh out of high school, coaching freshmen, and me and my buddy Chris were there, and they took us out to eat. They were doing these things with us, but they were introducing us to cigars, and doing shots. And like, I mean, we didn't do shots then because we were.
Yeah, but you saw them do it, and you were like, "That's fucking cool."
Yeah.
And so you saw people who you thought were cool, and they saw people who they thought were cool, and like, think about how that goes for even if that happened 5 times over, like 5 generations back, and high school generations happen faster. That's 4-year turnout, like of. And beginning of adolescence to middle of adolescence. I personally really don't think adolescence in our country is like done till like 21, 22. You really don't come out of that. Like, you need some time to grow. You get babied a lot longer than we used to.
Yeah, there's two key things that I'm taking away from this that as you're talking is the gap between 18 and 22 that people don't know what the fuck they're doing.
That's the moment. So like they had their whole adolescence to think they knew what they were doing. And then 18 to 22, when they're now the most impressionable. Mold them then. Give them a mentor then. Because then they can take all of those lessons they've learned, look through them, filter them out, and go, oh, like, I was just a crazy kid. But if nobody reminds them that they were a crazy kid, and then they get to 22 and they thought they were justified that whole way through, you got like 10 years of trying to break that now. They're going to have to go through some hard shit to learn some hard shit. You know what I mean? Like,
our school system,
and then they just drink it away.
Is a product to a public school systems, is a product of needing childcare.
Yes.
Like,
I mean there's no better way to say that.
It's a huge impact on childcare if everybody had to have their kids at home for school.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't. I mean, with the amount of kids we have today, like, I mean, you have
to have some kind
there's hundreds of thousands of kids in just the Detroit area, right? Like, they all need something to do during the day. If they had idle hands, like if they had to go be taught a skill trade at 5, 6 every day, like, that'd be like child labor. You know what I mean? Like, they're not learning it. They'd be learning in a different way, but then there wouldn't be, like, some people don't give a fuck about their kids. I know that happens. I hate to say it out loud, but like, everybody's got one friend who they know who their parents would like rather be drinking on Friday night than like hanging out with their kid. Like, oh, let me just give them to the babysitter every weekend, or let me go do this every weekend. I mean, it is a bummer.
It does happen, but like, there's like a time and a place for it too. Like, I see how my son is now, and he's excited to see me. If I take that day away from him, he's going to be upset with me.
Yeah.
But then again, like on Fridays, he goes to bed early. So like plan accordingly.
Right.
Like,
you know, I just think there's like a big evaluation of how we treat our kids. I just, as a fucked up kid, like I was a depressed, fucked up teenager because of a lot of reasons. But then I look back at it and I like think about it. I like analyze myself. I try to be, rational and objective about it. And I was like, every one of my influences was piss poor. Like, I really had nobody to reinforce anything positive or give it to me in a way that I was willing to learn it in. because everybody when you're 16 just goes, well, this is exactly how I did it, so it should work just for you. Like that's no way to teach anybody.
Yeah,
like because it worked for you doesn't mean it's going to work for
maybe
a kid.
maybe when you're building something, or it's like, okay, this is how you construct this type of
that's
thing.
different than emotional health though. You know what I mean? Because every person's different. 1 second. Every human being's different, so like you can't just like tell everybody the same thing works for them. This is how you grow up to be a good adult. You do this, this, and this. You have to go to school, and then after that, you have to go to more school. But this time, you're paying for it, and it's going to affect you for the rest of your life. Like you're going to be 27, paying off these 4 years of school you went to, and like who knows? Maybe the thing you went to school for isn't going to be a thing in 20 years, and you're screwed. Yeah. Or like we didn't, all you did was extend the drinking from high school into college.
It is sad when you see like our buddies that have degrees that are still waiting tables and like, oh, I'll make more money. I'm like, oh,
yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, I've 10 years in the restaurant industry, I have met people with master's degrees. Like I met one girl with a PhD. Like, I mean, probably not too many PhDs doing it, but like I worked with a girl with a PhD in fucking Las Vegas. Like waiting tables, man. Like what? Because she can make a fuckload of money. Like why not? Like why go work your ass off every day or go just like physically work and make 5 times the money and like no taxes.
Yeah.
And whatever it is. Like some of those pool girls make $120,000 in 7 months and then go fuck off and travel the world for the rest of the 5.
I mean, that's crazy. Do it because it's
fleeting. There's a shelf life on that, unfortunately, ladies.
Yeah, same idea as the strippers I've heard of in the Dakotas.
Yeah,
it's like a coal mine. There's not a whole lot to do, so they get paid like easy 6 figures for like 4 months of work, 6 months of work.
Yeah, and then they just dip out.
And then and there's like a waiting list and shit because of it's like
I get it.
It's a couple towns where nobody has shit to do.
Make a lot of fucking money.
Now that when I was hearing this was probably 15 years ago. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think it got any worse. We had a buddy. You remember Ryan at the restaurant?
Yeah,
Ryan Kane.
Yeah,
he went to go fucking work on the oil.
Oil
rig up there. Yeah, made $30 an hour just for moving out there, and they took care of like accommodation and shit.
Yeah.
He just works a fuckload. I don't know if he's still doing that, but I know he took off to go do that, and that was really popular. Then that was when they were building the Dakota access line.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. The Dakota pipeline.
Yep. Yeah, and then the other thing that going back to what we were talking about with politics and what needs to be, what's different now, and there's this gap in religion that was there that used to be stable, and it was corrupt as well, and that's why now that we're kind of woke to it, it's not as prevalent in culture, like in public schools and
to think about what fucking oh my god, Game of Thrones, what the Crow, what was his name? The poor guy that they blew up I'm having a really hard time recollecting.
Are you talking about main characters here?
Yeah, main character.
Jon Snow.
Not Jon Snow. It was the guy who was the priest. That was like super poor. He didn't wear anything. Like the one that made Cersei do.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know
what's his name?
I can't think of his name, but I know you're talking about.
He said to Prince Tomlin something that like, religious fanatic-y, like you would hear, like, but it kind of makes sense to where the country's at right now. Like, the church and the crown are the 2 pillars that hold up the kingdom.
Yeah.
And like, so apply that to American politics. Like people have to believe in something, and then that thing they believe in has to believe in the other thing that's supporting them. Right. Like if you're a Christian and you believe your Christian leaders and your Christian leaders tell you democracy works out really well, you're going to be like, well, that's my guy. Like he told me, I believe in him. He has really good, important things to say. So if he believes in this, I can believe in that. And they both work synonymously together. We're going through this coup, like a religious coup in this country, where a lot of people, through just knowledge, literally knowledge. If you hit a certain level of knowledge, you will have a question of religion. You will go, does this make sense or does this not make sense?
Even if you didn't know anything about religion.
Yeah.
And you were just get to this level of intellect and even in your own thoughts, and you get to that, you reach this point where it's like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
What are the possibilities?
Right.
And like, what are the facts?
And what are the facts? What do we know? So a lot of people in this modern day and age know that for fact, 2 + 2 = 4. Based upon 2 + 2 = 4, they figured out all the rest of math, right? Math and science are probably the best they've ever been in terms of things that we figured out. And we can know those things through numbers to be absolute truths. I think so. That's how I view life. I think numbers are universally true anywhere you go in the cosmos. 2 + 2 = 4. You know, like helium is still helium, nitrogen is still nitrogen, carbon is still carbon here or 10,000 million light years away. So I can, that's where science gets me. I'm like, okay, I mean, it makes sense. You go anywhere in the world, 2 + 2 is still 4. Like, so that's how I equate it in my head. So what did science and mathematics show me of religion? Which shows me that it doesn't really make sense to believe in something like that. Not that it's not possible, not that it's an improbability. It's just so much more highly probable that it's not a thing versus it being a thing. So from that, I can take, well, religion is something you practice to bring the spiritual world, what you feel inside, the reasons for being here, to the terrestrial world, which is 2 + 2 = 4, right? Something has to connect those. There is spirituality in us because we're beings unlike any other on the world. I can believe that. I think there's something in us because we're cognitive of things. We can, especially when you take stuff like mushrooms and LSD and you see through the veil for a moment and you feel like the way you're spoken to in your interpretation of the world. I think there's something spiritual there. And I think that translates to something with the 2 + 2 = 4. So that's how I rationalize it in my head. Religion doesn't make any sense. To practice something every day and tell other people you got to practice this, or I fuck with you anymore, to the extreme of I'm going to kill you for it. That's like really weird.
For me, I think I would have to go back further than just Christianity into Judaism, because at least Judaism is where in that it goes back further than Christianity. It's a piece of the pie,
right,
in the timeline of what is that religion. And when Rome and the Pope got a hold of this church and was able to do, I mean, imagine you have no phones, you have no nothing. You're living in this world where there's no way to really stop me from doing things once I get power, other than killing me.
Right.
And so if you kill me, there's a chance that all the people I pay will kind of do something else.
They're going to go fuck off.
Maybe not. Maybe my son will take it up. Maybe my brother will come by and do the same thing. And we're all wearing these crosses. You know, we don't want to let the devil in.
No.
And all we have to do is say he's part of the devil because he's the one with all the barley. And we want that barley.
Easy to manipulate.
Okay. So we don't even have to do it. We just get the city to do it.
Right.
The townsfolk. We rile them up over a course period of time. And then it happened once, and it was like, oh, this is a great idea.
Right.
Let's do it again.
Because they used religion to get people to fight for Rome. They made an army out of belief.
Yeah.
And that's the most powerful thing. So to dial everything back to what you were saying, or like to the two pillars of the country, that like religion and democracy, like there's no religion right now to support the democracy. It's running out. Like they're running out of religious power to fuel the democracy because now they can't get people to find common ground anymore, which is why we're seeing the division, right? Because you have the division of people who loosely think about like what I was just explaining, at least enough to question it. Same as yourself. You question it. You're like, well, it doesn't really make sense. Like you always, I 100% agree with you all the time. But when you attack religion, you're always attacking the fact that one guy told another guy, this is how it's going to be. That's the most asinine part of religion. Part of religion that makes sense is the spirituality, but they don't capitalize on that part. That's the second thought. They gave some loose answers to what could be spirituality, and then we're like, believe in this thing, and then they used it to twist power. There is good in religion.
I think there's great in religion.
There is good there in
but
the idea.
It's a powerful tool.
Yes, and it's misused.
We've seen it across many movies and different variations.
I mean, even just in history, all those movies are from history, and like you just read about like there was 3 crusades.
Yeah,
there 3 times individual leaders thought it's a good idea to go murder all these people for their wealth and goods and tag it on Jesus's back. What? Like crazy. Like in China, even worse about religion and belief, right? Like Taoism and like you think they're so chill, like all of their, but like that's the thing with religion. It tells you to be chill. Religion gives you all the tools and all the ideological tools to be chill. But they rile you up on the fact that like, well, we're all in this together. We're brothers, we're sisters. Like you go to church, Christian church is crazy. Brother Dean, Brother Justin, the brother Mark, brother, like, well, these fucking, you say it enough. You say it enough and you know it. And then it becomes, well, that's my neighbor. It's my brother. Like I would die for my brothers. You're taught to die for your family. This is your family.
And I'm thinking in my head, outside of a church and like a community shelter, are there any places for us really to come together that is a positive influence on the community?
I think we've talked about this before. Trying to start that turns into like a charity or a cult.
Yeah.
One of 2 ways. Like, and then the charity part, the bummer of the charity part is that if there's not enough core members who are in it to keep furthering what the charity's for, then it'll just get convoluted and be a money-making thing because you're going to have to pay people to come help with the charity, right? And then getting people out.
That's like nonprofits, but they still have salaries.
Right. And so they're making money somehow. Like it's crazy.
Someone's got to crunch the numbers. Someone's got to pay the bills or do this, that, the other thing. Someone's got to be the one,
Right. And that's what church is. Churches works the same way as a nonprofit charity. Churches work the exact same way. So like the only way, like the easiest way, even probably till this day, arguably, to get humans who have nothing to do with each other to hang out is religion.
And then imagine you don't have TV, you don't have a way to communicate. So you're going to come down to the church because it's the biggest place in the city. Yeah. And we're going to talk about some stuff.
You get to dress a little nice, it's
even if it's not the day of the church, but that's still the meeting place. That's still going to be like the town square is always in front of the church. It sets the backdrop and it gives you this area where lots of people could have shelter, lots of people, and so there's a lot of good things that come from it. The structure, the treat everybody equal, great. All these things sound great. And then the people that get this power, it like
to influence the way people believe in what they're already believing in. They sold them the ideological dream. They sold them this is how 2 + 2 = 4 and the spiritual world meet. That's what they're selling you, right? Like, so they're selling you this and that, work like this, just believe in this and follow me and I will show you the way. That's the part where I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, I don't get why you can't have one and the other and then not need to do the middle thing. But to your effect, you need the middle thing almost to unite people and bring them together because humans have to work culturally together. It's just how we get things done.
And if I thought that if by me choosing to be a part of the religious team would make this world better, my family would be going to church on Sunday.
For sure.
If it was one of those things that like, hey, I'm the only one that's not even the only one, but I'm not a part of the program. I'm not a part of this team.
That's cool. I'll just shut up about it. We'll show up. If my kid doesn't like it, at least he made 20 friends and maybe they don't really care about it, but like all 20 of them will know each other for the rest of their lives.
But those types of moments, okay, we go to church every Sunday and it's not necessarily what they're saying, but it's bringing us together. It's giving us a purpose. It gives us a reason to.
So do you want to start going to church and just put headphones in for the sermon?
I mean, it's hard for me not to, because then the certain things will frustrate me.
Yeah, I know. I can't do it.
But if there's a way to take the
you know why it's hard? Because they tag hell onto it. They like, if you don't do this, this is the other thing.
What is it? It's got the ultimatum. I was just listening to something that was talking about this, and it's like if you have the ultimatum, people are just going to choose religion because what's the alternative to not?
Right.
Like you can either believe and go to heaven, but if you don't believe, you could go to hell. Like that. Like
you want this or that. You like somebody figured out ultimatums really early and was like this or that works way better than like what pagans were doing. Like they were like, well, we can make it way more like scary.
Yeah, the fact that like a pagan Jesus Christ, a heretic trying to start his own religion, and something happens after he's crucified and down the road where a Roman general decides that we're going to be Christian so that way he can have a bigger army to win the war.
Yeah, and a marginally bigger army. He took it was a bunch of cultists essentially, and then he validified cultism because they had 40,000 ready soldiers or some shit like that, or whatever the number at B. But he did it to win a war, thus changing history.
How much different would our society be, and maybe further along in science and math, if we didn't just say, oh, you can't do that because of religion. You can't do that because of religion. Like even like just as easy as cadavers and slicing open bodies. Like you couldn't do that for the longest time
because of religion.
Because like the spirituality of them leaving the soul, like you had to leave them intact, and it was like our scientists need to know that from medicine.
Right.
If we never did this, we would never have known that. And similar with like science across the world, and we need to think about why are we being so reactive instead of proactive?
It's okay. Just doing podcast.
Live right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's really what?
Yeah, what you do downstairs?
Because Riley.
Oh. Okay.
It's funny.
But like being proactive instead of reactive, we see these things, these trends happening,
right?
And to not be able to we have to wait till something bad happens for us to change it. Like we know that religion's a good thing, but there's pieces of it that's bad. What can we do to implement that into our lives regularly?
Right.
How can we make these positive changes?
If you're a leader with power, do you want to have that conversation? Like, how do we change the fundamentals of religion to make them better for everyone else when the part you enjoy about it is that it's just better for you?
Yeah.
Like it's so hard I can't even imagine. I've never been in the position of power like that, right? Aside from being like a barely manager in a restaurant. Like the positions of power where you influence hundreds, if not thousands of lives. And that's like each church, right? Hundreds, if not thousands, or sometimes in the small cases of like 50s and 60s, but they're all working as beacons of one main thing.
Yeah.
So like the all day is like, there's 2 billion Christians or something like that in the world. Like that's a lot more than any country.
Yeah.
Like unite the Christians, you know what I mean? Like if it's just a crazy thing. Like,
but people hide behind religion just like anything else, and then they still do their evil. People are going to be bad,
right? So they're going to vie for positions of power wherever they can find them. Some people find them in the church, some people find it in government, some people find it in the military. Like people like power. How do you like combat that? That's just a human problem. Because at no time in history has any government ever really truly worked to benefit all the people inside of it, except for a monarchy where the king was like ill as fuck and was super generous and super nice and made it fucking happen for his people over everything.
And even then, it's not sustainable for a long period of time.
It's a 60-year period.
Yeah, like you're not doing
at 45, maybe the dude got cholera because he drank shitty water. 25, 30 years old, like. The only way it makes sense is if everybody listens to one person in groups no bigger than, let's say, 50,000. Like everything after that, it's like you're trying to control. All of the people of Michigan should have no say in what goes on to all of the people of Washington and vice versa. Completely different areas.
Far away.
We don't understand the socioeconomic problems of Washington. Yeah, we speak differently. We're interested in different things. Like the landscape is different. Our problems are different. And then we try to govern that under the United States of America times 50. No wonder the federal government has such a hard fucking time with shit, right? Like how and then no wonder, but then we look at them like do all this shit for us, but we're sitting here like we all want different shit. And that's unfair on both sides. So like, to me, it's always made more sense, like break us up into 4 regions, 5 regions even. I'd say all the Great Lakes states, all of New England, all of the South, the Midwest or like the Midwest, not including Michigan, because we'd be a Great Lakes one.
6.
Yeah, 6 probably.
Because Texas and Southern California
are going to be their own.
Yeah.
They're going to Texas and California are just like, we're done.
Yeah.
Maybe part of Northern California would go toward Washington or Portland or Oregon.
Yeah, because I'm sure people in Seattle feel different than people in San Diego.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
just completely different concerns. Yeah. Like, and then I don't know. To me, the problems feel so like cookie cutter, easy to fix on my soapbox. If we just did this, this, and this, but like.
Well, the webs that we don't see are what's tied is like, okay, well, you finally got the power, but you owe these 25 people favors. And these favors mean that you can't do those 6 things that you said you wanted to do.
I mean, imagine that. Imagine like getting put into power and you can't move politically. Like, okay, Obama came in, he wanted to get all this stuff done. He got maybe half the stuff done because when he got in, he got bought out by people who helped put him there. And then he had to pay them back. And then it was time to push some legislation.
Isn't there a way with Parliament that avoids that? Or with the English?
It makes it harder.
Yeah.
It makes it harder. But it's not unavoidable.
So at this point, even changing it would do less.
I think a Parliament makes more sense. That's the next step up of democracy. Like, they beat us. They like actually figured it out a little bit better. Because even George Washington, the first president, said we shouldn't even like have this position. Like, this is a bad idea. Bipartisanship will destroy our country. That's it.
Yeah.
Like you electing one official from both sides to lead it, like when they have completely different fundamentally ideological ways of approaching things, like you were already making it so dumbed down by saying it's one side or the other, like bipartisanship. Like we're not a 3-party country. They tried for like a second, and every time there's been a 3-party country, every time a third party's come in to intervene, that other party that everybody came from like died out and everybody just went to that and lumped themselves in.
Have you ever been in a room with 3 boys? Okay, one is a spirit athlete, the other 2 are average athletes.
Yeah.
If there's any type of athletic games that go on, if the 2 that want to win, they need to team up, beat the big one, and then resolve our issue, whether together or separately.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of the same idea.
That's why the 3-party gets weird.
Yeah,
you know?
because even if it's just a slight advantage, if I can team up with you, we can get both what we want.
Yeah.
Like there's this weird, and then goes around in a circle.
It just doesn't work well. Like a president doesn't work well. Congress and Senate that's almost where you want it to be. The Congress and the Senate make the most sense to represent all of the individual states. But having one elected official above that and giving it a third, I understand the checks and balances system. The judiciary is supposed to check on the fucking presidential, and like, you know, the Congress and the Senate are supposed to check. They're all supposed to interform, but like what the main house should be elected, like an elected parliament, almost like just a straight up parliament that gets executive branch things done almost in the same way the Congress and the Senate would, but with less party affiliation. I have no idea. Third party. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, hey, how do we fix the problem that we've come to? Like, our government's kind of like not working with capitalism. Like, democracy works really well and capitalism works really well, but like capitalism works way better with totalitarianism and democracy works way better with like socialism. It's really weird. Like it just kind of how
we do have a somewhat socialist group. Like, as far as like our public services are through social means and stuff like that, which should be.
Everyone's a little socialist.
I mean, you have to.
You just have to be. Like that's what the government.
So that understanding is, I think, is not as out there as people like.
I don't want to say it.
It's like, well, we kind of are because that's how we pay for things.
Yeah,
like imagine having to get a bill because your house burned down. Yeah, because you had to pay the fire guys to put out the fire for your house, but you burned down.
Yeah,
like. We don't have to pay that because we pay the taxes and the socialism pays that.
That is not 100% true, Justin.
What do you mean?
You can definitely get billed for your house catching on fire.
For the firemen coming and putting it out, though.
Yes.
I don't think they'll charge you for that. You're not gonna bill from the firemen saying.
Yeah, you get a bill from the fire department now.
Since when?
Since like recently, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've heard multiple stories of people getting bills. Like it's the same thing with a paramedic and ambulance, right? Emergency services should be covered under taxes too.
Emergencies are. I know ambulances aren't because like
they're privatized.
Yeah,
ambulances are privatized because running it as a government institution was probably too much work for somebody.
Yeah, it was just easier to make somebody else do it.
Yeah, well, so the government pays money to the private, like, you know, through a grant or whatever, instead of running the structure on their own, which is like sets it up for so much more failure.
Yeah, but it gives the people the opportunity to run it, and instead of me. You know, I can't be in 5 places at once. I need someone to be able to step up and run this. And now you can be a profitable business as well.
Yeah, but then it turns into like, I mean, speaking specifically just with like EMS, it turns into like doing anything you can do to produce revenue. I.e., like, let's just do like be a taxi with like some medical advantages and we'll just pick up anybody and charge them, you know, $1,500 for a 20-minute ride to the hospital when they got in a car accident and they were totally fine from the car accident. Now they owe you.
I mean, that's what's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, but that's
like taxpayer money already goes to pay those people to keep those businesses alive. And then we still have to pay more money to the private business. So they get double collection. All I'm saying is they get to collect double pay because public services should work the way you just said, where you don't get charged by the fire department. But like it's getting to the point where you're starting to get charged by the fire department because the cost isn't able to keep up.
Well, yeah. And that's the other thing is, I mean, the amount of people that have money and don't have money is separating. So like, trying to make that dollar is vitally important. Stretching. Okay, well, instead of $100, it's $200, and that's
to bring it all back. By the way, to that stimulus, all the way to the beginning, since we're about to wrap up here. Off of what you just said, with the gap increasing, right? Like the wealthy are the most rich they've ever been, and the poor are the most poor we've ever been, and 40% of the country right now is technically under the poverty line, under like $15 an hour of earned wage, which is why they want to bring $15 an hour, like make it the.
Well, I mean, like if you did the math after taxes on what 15 is, it's not like
it's closer. It's at least $2,000 a month, or close to $2,000 a month, maybe like $1,800 a month. You know, as opposed to if you had to work for minimum wage, it's, you know,
$500 a week take home is livable. but you're not enjoying life.
No,
like,
you're getting by.
Yeah,
you're
barely
surviving. Getting by.
You're probably balancing a couple cards and floating some money around and doing some tricks that I know I've pulled to make sure everything's paid on time.
$500 a week assumes you have no
responsibilities outside of yourself.
Outside of yourself, and like that's it. But 15 is better than nothing. But to bring it back to the stimulus check, and I know you were like, why give this stimulus check? At least it kind of sounded like you had questioned why give it out in a time where money, $2,000 to a guy like you and me is like awesome. And to some people over like, let's say $200,000 a year or even $100,000 a year, they're just going to bank it and put it away. That still stimulates the economy more than all the rich people not spending the money that they all have. That's the argument for giving it out, because it will stimulate $2,000 to 180 million Americans. Is, I don't know the math on that. At least the money is going back into the structure.
Yes.
Even if it's booze, even if it's negative shit, even if you're paying off credit card debt, whatever you're doing, you're helping the economy.
It's going to help your cycle personally, but you're going to pay money out eventually.
And it's all going to go back to the rich anyway. So nobody rich should be freaking out about it.
They're like the casino, like, hey, we'll give you $100 to sign up on DraftKings to do the sports.
Right. Like you just got to bring 200 of your own money, and we'll give you 100 on top of it, and you can come gamble with us. Whoa, you're going to give me free money? Like, you completely don't hear the I have to spend 200 of my own money thing. Because like the 2,000 might help people make an investment on something that they like. Okay, I'm getting $1,400 more dollars, $500 saved up. I can buy this thing for $1,900. Like, that's the exact same concept. They didn't even hear that they have to spend $500. They just heard they were getting $1,400. The thing they want to cost $19, and they already have $5. Let them boost the economy in whatever way, but like $2,000 to most Americans right now, I'd go as far to say 70% of Americans would be excellent and boost the economy. Like, because they're so worried right now about what the heck's going to happen with the stock market. So they need to influx the stock market somehow, and they can't just keep dumping trillions of dollars into it. So like, and paying rich, like, I don't know, giving money to corporations isn't working. We bailed out how many corporations, and it's not done anything for anyone at the bottom. It just gave them the money to be like, okay, we can close this plant now. Like, we can afford to close this plant finally. We can afford to lay off 100 more people.
And hearing that reminded me of the hospital that didn't pay their $400,000 bill. And doctor showed up for work, and they're locked out, and they're like, she's like, doctor, he was just talking about like, I'm trying to give like advice through people's cars and in the parking lot because we can't. They locked down the hospital. They can't get in because rent hasn't been paid. $400,000. Like, somebody didn't do their job.
Well, but like, if the hospital was like, and that's the problem with hospitals too, with them being privately owned. Like, we have government owned stuff in the weirdest way, and then privately owned stuff in the weirdest way, because there should be no such thing as a place that tenders care to have to pay money to exist. It should just exist. And like, I get insurance is how they make money to afford the medical supplies and all that. All of that stuff needs to be de-inflated and like lowered down, because they're trying to make profit.
You got to pay your electric bill. You got to do these things. There's certain things that like you're gonna have a high.
Why can't the hospital get free electricity and water? Why can't we accept that?
Why don't we have solar panels on all of our?
Why don't we accept that? Like, if we want public services, those should come from the government and not be privatized. Because then it makes it cynical. The second they get privatized, they're cynical. Because now it's about money. The government can exclude the money part. We spend but that's where the great veil of like 50% of our budget goes to national defense. If you took 20% that away, put 30 toward national defense, 20% could fuel like the fire and lifeblood of public services in our country that aren't socialism. It's just helping out. Like, that's shit that everybody wants and needs. We accept that.
What if we could vote for the exact percentage of where our money goes? Not only would I be happy with my taxes, I might want to donate more to make sure that like this is going to go to my city for sure, and they're going to help the public.
At least your local taxes, federal taxes, I get it. You got shit to do.
So, but like, send me like the printout of where this money's going.
I would like to know.
Like, can I have a receipt? Like I have to give you a receipt for everything for my year, but you can't give me one receipt saying where this breaks down to. Why is it gotta be so like?
We're not allowed to question the fucking government.
That's not what I like to hear.
We're not though. Like, if anything proves it in the last year, more than anything, the government said go inside. We said why, and they said go inside, and we were like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, gave us the look. Let's get out of here.
Hey, we got to go.
But thanks for listening. Anything else you want to add?
No, that was a good way to end the podcast. Thanks for listening if you have been.
If you're looking for more content, I'll be dropping some some more on Everything Korp, another podcast, and then we'll have some more for you coming soon. So probably next week. But thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys. Peace out.
Do we want to edit that at all? I don't think it matters.
No.
15 seconds.
And oops. What 15 seconds?